Here we are at RRS. We're doing our makeover on our favourite XM wagon, 1964 Falcon wagon, right-hand drive. What we're in the process of doing is giving it a clean up, revamp, tidy everything up and prep it for fitting a Boss 5.4 quad cam and auto. We're fitting a brand new Dynacorn replacement body panel, and it's the best way to tidy up all of the patch repairs that have been done before and things that have got away as far as rust repairs and just general finish. So what we're about to do, we've marked out the preliminary cuts, and the next thing is we torch those out or cut them out, clean up the body panels that are underneath and start welding in the new floor pan. Lots of nasty rust. What you can't see that affects the longevity of a build. This car was sandblasted, but unfortunately it only reveals the surface problems, not the internals. Before I start cutting anything, I always give myself a little bit of a map of where I want to cut so that I don't cut through essential cross members that need to be trimmed up and reused. So that's why it's this sort of funny pattern, because I'm cutting around all the original cross members. So we're about to lift this out. You're probably wondering why we didn't drill any spot welds off. It's because there isn't any. It's all been repaired and welded along the edges. That's why we cut it all out, and some of these welds are very, no, they're below average. All right, now one of the worst things when you're doing a job like this is when it's had repairs before, because you're doubling your work. Somebody's welded instead of the spot welds along the edge here. We've got panels over panels. So if it's worth doing, it's always worth doing well and doing properly. The beauty of car restoration these days, more than anything else, is we've got modern materials to treat rust, seal it and preserve it for much longer than these cars were originally built for. With modern rust converters and sealants that you can put onto these cars, you can preserve it for its lifetime all over again. Possibly another 50 years, who knows. It's always the bits that you don't see and you haven't repaired that are going to come back and bite you later. In some of these other areas it's very difficult, particularly in around the torque boxes, both front and rear, and they're the places you really want to get into and have a good look at, make sure they're not rusty and treat them. Right now we're just in the final stages of cleanup, and we can drop the floor in and have a look and see how it fits. So here we have a brand new Dynacorn complete floor pan, specifically made for a US Falcon Sprint. When we fit it into an Aussie Falcon, there's a couple of differences. They're only minor, but there's a support stay that goes right across the floor, because in a US Falcon Sprint, our subframe rails that are in Aussie Falcons are not the same. They're a different length, so this interferes with them. You can either cut these down or use the original ones that come in the Aussie Falcon. The transmission tunnel hump is slightly taller, which is a bonus, but we're only talking minor differences, because the US one is made to fit a larger C4 or top loader. The floor pressing is identical to our Aussie Falcon, with all the same indentations, seatbelt locations, seat locations, overlaps into the rear floor panels. The other advantage, of course, is this is a much thicker gauge steel, and the beauty is it's one piece and it's brand new. So we pulled it out of shape. You've got to be gentle with this sort of thing so you don't put a nasty crimp in it, but just enough to be able to fit it through the windscreen opening. And then once you get it to that point, release it, and you're ready to start clamping it in place. You may be wondering about the big hole in the front here. That's because we're putting a 5.4 quad cam and a big AOD transmission in there. First of all, we're just locating the floor in place using the original seat mounting bolt holes, and then we're going to mark out the floor where we have to drill our plug welds. Okay, next stage, now that we've got all the holes punched, as you can see, holes drilled in the rails, we're going to line all the panel up, screw it into place, and make sure that everything is flush and in its right position. We want seat holes to line up, all of the rest of the panelling to be flush to the original cross members, and then it'll come up spot on. I can see more work. Okay, well, now we're going to weld all these rails in, pull them up nice and flush, and dress it all up. Let's finish it off. Alright, what we're doing here is reinforcing the chassis in the neatest, simplest possible manner. When you increase the folds, the gauge of the metal, and strategically put in body stiffening, you've got to think very carefully about how it affects a monocoque chassis. There's a lot of gimmicks out there. This works. Keeps a nice, clean, tidy look. Adds a huge amount of stiffness because it ties the rear bulkhead to the front bulkhead and across the middle sections where the 3-link cross member goes. Okay, so now you can see a sealed up floor that was supplied, floor replacement panel that was supplied by Dynacorn, originally for a US Falcon Sprint. However, with only minor changes, like where the seat support frame goes, this all fitted beautifully. It's all the same contours in the rear, in the front. Now it's a one-piece floor. The other added advantages, of course, is the seatbelt anchor points are in their original positions, so this is ADR compliant. We have put the seat support stays back in, so it's got additional support for aftermarket seats if you choose. The other changes, and these are the major ones, and this is only to do with a 5.4 quad cam swap or a Coyote swap, is the transmission tunnel. So we've used XR through to XC, even XD transmission tunnel hump, the bolt-on one. We've welded it in and opened up all the insides so that there's more clearance for either a overdrive gearbox or 4-speed, or alternatively the ZF 6-speed. Replacing the floor has been a big job. However, it's worthwhile because now it's a one-piece unit, no joins, seams or anything else. It's all fresh metal. There's less fabrication in installing a new floor from Dynacorn, and overall you can see it just looks a whole lot better, and it looks a lot better from underneath instead of patches and a quilt of sheet metal. So now that all of that is done, we're ready to press on to the next level and start fitting it out.